Hey, and Sven Squad, how you doing? Mr. Hulten here, and today we're going to explore things that both a lot of the people in the community seem to want to see, and things that I personally want to see for the next Mass Effect. Mind you that this is nothing that has been confirmed and are simply just things that a lot of us want to see an introduction to, or a continuation of. But before we start, remember to smash the like button and click the bell button after subscribing so you don't miss out on any new videos. Also, I've linked my gaming gear in the description below, so if you need a great microphone to record your videos with, or a gaming mouse that helps your aim game, check those out after the video. Alright then, let's go! Let's get the first one out of the way, because this is the one that most people are expecting to see. A continuation of the Milky Way saga. It's no secret that the Destroy ending is expected to be the canon ending. BioWare has hinted as much, not only from the secret Shepard Breath ending, which you can only get by maxing out your war asset, but because of the obvious destruction we see while zooming through an unknown system in the next Mass Effect teaser. We also see the Dead Reaper sticking out in the background. Liara is alive, and she doesn't have the shimmering synthesis skin. Now, I've seen a few comments here and there about how Shepard surviving isn't a necessity, which is true, it isn't. But considering that the perfect Destroy ending is the hardest one to get, and it's the only ending with Shepard surviving, it's pretty safe to say that if BioWare were to choose a canon ending, it would definitely be the perfect Destroy one. Even if we don't see Shepard at all in the next game, a galaxy that's being rebuilt has so much more potential for all kinds of storytelling, which I touched on in one of my last videos. Whether it's about escalating civil war or a new species that threatens the peace, the Milky Way is an untouched galaxy's worth of story potential, and it could all easily be tied in with the history of the galaxy as a whole. Give us strong ties to the trilogy, please, which is something that was sorely lacking in Mass Effect Andromeda. And while we're on the subject of Mass Effect Andromeda, let's move on to the second thing on this wish list. Salvage the combat system from Andromeda. The combat in Mass Effect Andromeda was probably the best thing about it. The movement is so fluid, and one thing that's especially noticeable as you play through the Legendary Edition after having played Andromeda is how the original Mass Effect trilogy's combat felt really stale. And that's not a fault of the original games, but rather the care that was put into the combat system in Andromeda. Zipping through the battlefield in Andromeda as a vanguard can make you feel superhuman at times.
Get ready to fight!
And while Mass Effect 3 definitely had the best combat system of the original trilogy, it just doesn't compare to Andromeda's fluidity. Switching between builds on the fly just removes a lot of the clunkiness of having to reset your stats over and over again. True, it might remove some of the replayability if you can just change your class on the fly, but it truly saved me and others from a lot of headache whenever you weren't happy with your build. Keep the upgrading system from Mass Effect 3 though. The simplicity of just upgrading your weapons and mods removed additional headache, and I actually think that the upgrading system was better in 3 than in Andromeda. Alright, so moving on to the third point, please give us the complexity of consequences that we had in Mass Effect 1. One thing that I think that the first Mass Effect has over its sequels is how almost every little thing that you do has some form of effect throughout the game. And no, I'm not necessarily talking about the consequences of your actions in the sequels, but how minor side missions can play out in different ways depending on what you do. There is just so much variety depending on what you choose to say or do in Mass Effect 1, and that is one of the key aspects to what makes the entire trilogy so replayable. There are just so many small things that can happen that can change your entire perspective on things. I mean, there's a reason why I've been able to do over 100 videos about this damn series. There's just so much complexity. And that's what I want to see more of. A galaxy-wide playground where you can see immediate consequences of your actions. And while we're on the subject of story, keep it tight-knit. What I mean by that is the reason why Mass Effect's story is
Legend? Wait for it. Dairy!
Is because it's a relatively simple but epic story to follow. Next to the level of interaction, the characters and story is what makes it also memorable. Sure, the exploration can be a fun minigame part, but trying to make it into a pseudo-MMO like Mass Effect Andromeda is just not going to work. I'll be honest, my nostalgia gets in the way of facts sometimes, but the Mako and the Nomad can be incredibly boring to drive around in, especially when you have to get to the next part of the story. Driving 10 minutes through a relatively empty world to get to the main mission is just not that fun. If anything, make the exploration optional. Don't just drop us into a gigantic world and say, "Wow, look at the size of this." Remember how people compared Andromeda to No Man's Sky? Wide as an ocean, as deep as a puddle? No thank you. Get us the incredible interaction with the universe that was explored both in Mass Effect 2 and 3, please. Okay, so if I didn't touch on this, I'm pretty sure a lot of you would rebel. Give us a bigger romance roster. Now, if you're like me, then you probably have a dirty mind. And why wouldn't you? Mass Effect has always been known as the alien banging simulator. And this time, let's make sure everyone gets a piece of the pie. Mass Effect has had its ups and downs with regards to the romance aspect of the games. Gay Shepard wasn't even a thing until later games, and a lot of people felt left out because of it. And I completely understand. Thankfully, we live in a society that's a tad more inclusive today than the early 2000s, so BioWare would probably not back out of an idea just because Fox News does a hit piece on it. Do you guys remember the coverage on the Liara romance scene? One thing we have to remember, however, is that if you're going to write complex characters, then not everyone can be bisexual and open to romance. And we want to include everyone's preferences, alright? Some people are just gay, some are heterosexual, some are bisexual, and then we have the people who just don't give a shit.
Shepard.
Rex.
So, what's the solution? Make a bigger roster. Mass Effect 2 had the biggest character roster in the trilogy and is probably the best of all the games when it comes to romance. But we need more characters to bang. That's just it. That's how you solve it, BioWare. And let's finish off this list with a very important thing. Improve the animations, for crying out loud.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
Look, we all love Mass Effect here, but we just gotta agree on something here. If there was a competition to make the most awful animations out of all games released the last 20 years, then Andromeda definitely knocked the ball out of the park. True, the process of animating is probably very rough, but we live in the era of advanced motion capture. For a AAA game such as Mass Effect, BioWare really should be able to afford hiring people that are proficient in producing great animation. And if EA's statements about the sales of Legendary Edition is anything to go by, then BioWare should absolutely have more than enough resources to make characters more lifelike than they have ever been. The next Mass Effect cannot be lazily put together and have the same wonky animations that Andromeda had upon release. This would literally be the killing blow to the franchise. I'm going to say it again, the next Mass Effect needs to be legendary in quality, and I have high hopes that it will be. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram where I upload absolutely nothing, but do write to me there if you want to reach out to me. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitch, also known as the platform where I don't ever stream. No, but seriously guys, let me know what your wish list is down below. Who knows, someone over at BioWare might be watching and taking notes. Anyway, have a great day, Sven Squad. Mr. Hulten, out.